Published 0434 EDT, the 5th of October 2017. Updated 0617 EDT, the 5th of October 2017. Wednesday night saw the return of The Apprentice, and within minutes of the first task, two of the female candidates were at each other's throats. Feisty florist Elizabeth McKenna locked horns with wedding planner and blogger Siobhan Smith on several occasions, including when Elizabeth called her Sinead, and Siobhan butted heads with Karen Brady when she implied that only attractive women should be out selling burgers. And it transpires Siobhan, 34, is just as outspoken on her personal blog, which essentially outs bad service and writes about what riles her up. Scroll down for video. Opinionated argumentative apprentice candidate Siobhan Smith thrown out of Michelin star restaurant Hakkasan for using her own chili flakes and thinks children should be seen and not heard. Off particular note, she writes a rambling account of what happened in Mayfair's Michelin star eatery Hakkasan when she tried to sneak some chili flakes in to season her food. The long and short of the scenario is that she was thrown out after a lengthy argument with the waiter and the management. I have eaten at a lot of restaurants around the world and generally eat out twice or three times a week in London. I always bring my pot of dried chili flakes with me wherever I go, she wrote, adding a backstory to the post. I never leave home witout them. And arriving at Hakkasan, she withdrew the aforementioned chili flakes from her bag to sprinkle on her starter. Clearly taking an overly drawn-out amount of time to undertake said sprinkling, this caught the roving eye of a nearby waiter who came over and said, "Can you please put your chili flakes away, as they are not in theme with the restaurant and against the rules?" Siobhan recalls that she was flabbergasted and said pardon. Thrown out. Her blog recounts all the run-ins and arguments she has had with customer service reps. Dinner drama. The hopeful was previously booted out of prestigious eatery Hakkasan. What followed was an explanation from the waiter wherein he told her the restaurant doesn't allow food to be brought in by its patrons. Siobhan's defense was that it's not a food, it's a spice, and demanded to see the rules that stated this policy. "Unless you are going to pay my bill, please don't tell me how to eat my food," cries Siobhan in the post. "How dare the waiter tell me that I can't put chili flakes on my food?" She goes on. 5 minutes later, a manager came over to the table. He was very rude now and began to raise his voice. He said, "Madam, my colleague has asked you to put your chili flakes away and I can still see them on the table. They are offending the customers, and if you don't put them away now, I must ask you to leave the restaurant. Get out." Siobhan's defense was that it's not a food, it's a spice, and demanded to see the rules that stated this policy. Cutthroat. Wednesday night saw the return of The Apprentice, and within minutes of the first task, two of the female candidates were at each other's throats. What followed, according to the blog, was Siobhan googling chili flakes and showing the manager that they're not food. "I had this emotional, egotistical man panting his chest, because I dared to question him and the non-existent policies. He then became dictatorial and said he would call security if I would not leave. So I got up and left the restaurant in total disbelief. This was an utter disgrace. What's next? If you don't have an iPhone, it can't go on the table, or you don't have a Chanel bag, so it can't go on the seat." Mile Online has contacted Hakkasan and a rep for The Apprentice for comment elsewhere on her blog, which she says she started to offer people an insight to the so-called world of luxury and life, and to let them see that quite often what one expects and pays for is very often not received. The mother of phone states that children should be seen and not heard. Siobhan C. in navy and white is just as outspoken on her personal blog as she is on The Apprentice, and has claimed that she was thrown out of Hakkasan and that children should be seen and not heard. Feisty florist Elizabeth McKenna locked horns with wedding planner and blogger Siobhan, and Siobhan butted heads with Karen Brady. She implied that only attractive women should be out selling burgers. "Me daughter is 4 years old and a lot of people compliment me on how well behaved she is in public. That's because if you put the work in at a young age and are consistent, you get results," she says, backing the proverb written by Augustinian clergyman John Merkin 1450. She states that she has begun to see more and more lately a new generation of kids that are very obnoxious and badly behaved, before categorizing children into 3 types: strict parents, parents who try to treat their children as equals, and parents who can't really be bothered to look after or discipline their children at all and don't really care what their children do in public as long as they are not being bothered themselves. Of the latter, she says they are selfish and don't care about destroying other people's experiences, but just about enjoying their own. "When I pay for a restaurant, flight, hotel or health club, I don't expect children to ruin my experience." She then goes on to recall another of her run-ins that took place at the Virgin Club Lounge at Heathrow Airport, in which a loud child was disturbing her and her husband having a glass of champagne, trying to unwind and relax, looking forward to the start of our vacation. She complained to the manager, who spoke to the father, who in turn approached Siobhan and asked what the problem was. "One down. Siobhan survived the first round of firings on Wednesday evening's Apprentice. A was taken aback and said, "Do your children have the right to destroy the experience of all the other upper-class passengers?" she asks in her post. As it transpired, the gentleman in question was not only on her flight but sitting in front of her, and he allegedly instructed his children to be as loud as they liked and had paid them £50 each. The man was classless, and to be honest, I don't know how he could afford the flights. New money does not always mean class. You can take the man out of the street, but not always the street out of the man, she observes in her blog. Other blog posts on Siobhan's site include one about customer service on British Airways flights, another on why British people don't complain enough, and a third titled "Clean Your Own Room at the St. Regis Meridius for only £500 per night." She survived the first round of firings on Wednesday evening's Apprentice, however, with the women winning the burger challenge and being sent for a gourmet vegan meal presumably involving chili flakes. Success: the women won the burger challenge and were sent for a gourmet vegan meal presumably involving chili flakes.